Welcome to this Daily Bread Explainer. Today we're jumping right into a really incredible theological deep dive titled The Sin Offering is Most Holy. We're going to look at how laws from the Bible actually connect directly to how we live, work, and serve today. And right at the beginning, let's read the foundational text for this whole topic. This is Leviticus chapter 6, verse 25. God tells Moses, "Say to Aaron and his sons, these are the regulations for the sin offering. The sin offering is to be slaughtered before the Lord in the place the burnt offering is slaughtered. It is most holy." That verse is the absolute bedrock for everything we're going to discuss. To outline the big picture first, before we dive into the details, here is our roadmap for the explainer. 1. The ultimate sin offering. 2. Historical context of sacrifice. 3. Steps of the offering. 4. Sustained by the cross. And finally, 5. Implications for campus life. Let's start right off with Section 1, the ultimate sin offering, and how Christ is the perfect atonement. Focusing on summarizing the key findings of this research, especially from the perspective of Reformed Calvinism theology, the main argument here is that Jesus' death was absolutely not Plan B. God's sovereign plan was always pointing toward this exact monumental moment. He serves as the ultimate offering to make his people holy through his own blood. In the Old Testament, the place where sins were atoned for was a physical spot tucked away in the tabernacle. But for us today, that most holy place is the cross of Jesus Christ. The gravity of this is just astounding. He made the ultimate sacrifice, willingly taking on that crushing weight of sin so we could stand completely holy before the Father. Moving along to Section 2, historical context of sacrifice, where we establish the Levitical framework. To provide a little historical context for the topic before we dive into the specifics, the Bible actually outlines multiple types of offerings. You've got burnt, peace, grain, and fellowship offerings. But God specifically singles out the sin offering as most holy. Think about the sheer sensory overload of the historical tabernacle for a second. It was loud, it was messy, very visceral. Yet amid all that chaos, a strict hierarchy of holiness is drawn. God does not treat the contamination of sin casually. It required a unique, elevated level of reverence. We honestly get a bit numb to our own sin sometimes, don't we? But this historical framework proves that God views it with the utmost gravity. Which brings us to Section 3, Steps of the Offering, and those extraordinarily careful regulations. So let's explain the step-by-step process described in the document. These weren't just empty rituals, they were a physical demonstration that dealing with sin requires absolute care. Step 1. The offering had to be slaughtered in the exact same holy place as the burnt offering. Step 2. If blood splashed onto a garment, you couldn't just toss it in the regular wash. It had to be rigorously scrubbed in a holy place. And Step 3, which is just brilliant. If the offering was cooked in a clay pot, that pot had to be completely shattered. It could never be reused for ordinary purposes again. This strict adherence was a constant reminder that the cure for sin cannot be casually mixed with the mundane things of everyday life. Let's look at Section 4, Sustained by the Cross. Comparing two paths of sustenance. Let's actually compare and contrast these two paths to see the shift from historical shadow to present reality. Under the Old Testament system, the priest was literally sustained by eating from the physical sacrifice that dealt with his sin. He even kept portions of it, like the animal hide. The cure for his sin was his daily physical fuel. Now compare that to the New Testament believer. We are sustained by Jesus, the bread of life. He dealt with our sin on the cross, and now he is the exact fuel for all of our gospel labor. Just as the priest was fed by the altar, we don't operate on our own personal strength. We rely entirely on Christ to sustain us. And finally, Section 5, Implications for Campus Life, taking this theology into the new semester. So, what is the focus on the implications of this data for college students? Theology isn't just meant to stay in our heads. As you step onto campus for a new semester, surrounded by the pressure of classes and new relationships, the application is clear. Begin at the cross. Don't start with your own personal plans, goals, or anxiety. Let the cross shape everything else. Remember that broken clay pot from earlier? It couldn't be reused for ordinary things. In that exact same way, you have been set apart. You can't simply return to ordinary campus life. You're called to live for God's holy purpose, relying on Christ for sustenance instead of trying to grind it out on your own strength. And hey, don't forget to bring the small things to your ministry. Just like those priests keeping the animal hides, realizing secondary things had value, God absolutely uses the small, seemingly insignificant things you bring to Him. Allow these takeaways to completely anchor your mission this semester. To finish with a clear conclusion of the research, I want to leave you with this question to chew on. As you enter a new semester, what sin or attitude do you need to take more seriously instead of just brushing past it? And which area of life are you tempted to handle in your own strength right now, rather than inviting Christ to sustain you? Think about that broken clay pot. You are set apart. Don't go back to running on your own fuel. My prayer is that the Father will feed you from His altar as you step into your campus mission. Thank you so much for joining this explainer, and keep reflecting on your foundation.